in the freezer a bit and go to Abdul Sunny and have a conversation with him. Sunny, good morning.
Good morning, Johnny.
Sunny, your TV is on, or you need to bring it down.
Is it better?
No. It's not at all. I'm sure we can work on the sound from the back end.
3FM Sunrise.
Technician is looking at the producer. Oh my God. William.
Yeah.
This is Brian Echampo.
Yeah, I mean, the initial comment you made about the NDC having, passing as minister, for which reason he had the reason to. I mean, whether he was a minister or, he was passed as a minister, he still remains an MPP member.
That's right.
So he could still be there and be talking the way he spoke. That was public speaking. And as public speakers, sometimes you get passionate. It's part of it. I mean, you need to say something to engage you. I mean, make your presentation passionate. But I think what he said had too many wings to the statements.
Too many interpretations
exactly.
put to it.
And when you're talking, it's important that you make your point clear. Your intention must be clear. That's a good speaker. So that you don't get misinterpretation. We're in this country when people would always come and explain what a certain president said. And we even had to say he was booming. So if you have an opportunity to speak, now if you have the men, we don't need men this day to fight. We need men. The men you promised us were not fighters. I'm talking about the MPP.
Yeah.
The men you promised us were not fighters.
They were going to deliver economic freedom.
Going to fix our prisons. The men who were going to fix our hospitals, fix our roads, who are the top brains to do the job. So that we have the men statement was just not on, because that is not what you promised us. Number two, if you say we won't hand over, it means you are going to work hard to hold on to power. But does that mean that you are going to use violence?
We said in any way possible.
Yes. I mean, at all costs. At all costs. If you say at all costs, are you speaking to Ghanaians or you are speaking to your party members to leave no stone
any and everything? Yeah.
To make sure that you win power. So the interpretations will come in a lot of ways. That's what I'm saying, that if you are speaking as much as possible, people think that talking publicly is a very easy thing to do. Some parties have actually put their ministers, or if you like, their top men together to organize public speaking lessons for them. Because communication is everything.
That's right.
The world was created through the word. The whole world was created through words. It is so words are not.
Let there be light,
So
and there was light.
You can take for granted. The whole business of law is based on word. Because if you go to court, you are not going to look at the judge's face and win a case.
You have to speak.
Yes.
And say something.
Say something before you lose.
To represent something.
Exactly. So for words are so important. If you see somebody in church, in the school, or in the library, and you want to date the person, you don't just look at each other's face, smile, and get engaged. You have to speak. So everything.
But if you are mouth lazy,
then you won't get. So I'm just saying that I'm just making all these examples, bringing all these scenarios to suggest to everybody this morning that words are that important.
All right.
So if you're a political leader, you are a church leader, or whatever it is, that you stand in front of people. Communication, you have to encode. Think about, picture what you want to say.
Right.
Look at the environment. Then the intention. What do you want? What kind of feedback are you expecting? Brian, when he was speaking, is it the kind of feedback he was expecting? No. Since he spoke, was it Friday to date? The feedback has not been good. So it means he has failed. Because if you want to get positive feedback to engender something good for your party, the feedback must be positive. Now you spend the whole time trying to explain what you wanted to say. It means you didn't even think about what you wanted to say, because good communication starts with good thinking. You have to check the environment, because one word, depending on the voice, depending on the environment, will mean another thing anywhere.
Right.
If you say, every word, depending on the environment and even the voice, the tone with which you present the word will give it a different meaning.
That's right.
If I say Johnnie, Johnnie, all those things.
Johnnie.
I wouldn't even add the que. Just the Johnnie.
The way you say.
As soon as you add que, what chakemling.
But different
just the Johnnie.
Yeah.
The voice alone will make you
Helen
angry,
says,
or make you smile, or make you hug me.
Helen says Johnnie.
Johnnie.
Good morning, Johnnie.
Johnnie.
Hey, Johnnie.
Or maybe, so at the end of the day, these are things that the party executive, instead of coming to just defend, I'm just suggesting to them that this is, I mean, we are going to an election. Ghanaians are angry already because we are hungry.
Yeah.
So they should put their communicators together, their ministers together, and organize public speaking lessons for them. They are professionals in this country who give such lessons.
Yeah.
So that when you get onto the platform, you win. Because look, you can't be telling us that petrol has moved from 17 to 10, so we should be happy. Are you talking about gallons? We are talking about liters. So
who even took it to the 17
Chief,
to begin with?
I'm saying that if you make such statements, we'll come and break it down. Because at the time we were buying liters at 17 or gallon
at 17.
So, and I understand when they go and make a statement like this and they come before the appointment committee and as though it was a political talk. We've heard it before. Was it Eslawusu who even said she had repented?
Yes.
When they stand on that platform,
it appears she didn't repent after all.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I'm just suggesting that look, we can't go with political talk anymore. We've gone to the Senior Corrections Center. We've seen how things are bad. We need people to come and speak to us and give us assurances and not tell them men who can come and do what? Fight.
Giddy.
No.
Okay, let's go to Sani Abdurrahman. He's in Washington. Is it Washington or Washington?
Why are you struggling with this one? Let's say the way you want it.
Is it Washington or Washington?
This one, I suspect that you have had some cuckoo.
Sani, good morning. Sani, how are you doing? Good morning.
Good morning, Johnnie.
Great. You have to speak up for me, please. Good morning.
Good morning, Johnnie. How are you and the team?
Well, we are fine. You know you are coming back, right?
Of course, to build the nation.
All right, to build the nation. I like that. So what's happening in Washington? Tell us.
Well, global leaders have gathered here for the spring meetings, trying to find solutions to the mounting economic challenges that we are seeing around the world, especially the impact we are seeing in developing nations as far as further pushing a lot of people below the poverty line is concerned. So we know the Ghana team arrived last night, led by the Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta and the Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Ernest Addison. While the meeting is ongoing, they will be trying to use some net opportunities on the sidelines of the meeting to further the agenda of the country seeking a bailout from the International Monetary Fund. They will try to deepen the engagement which already started back in Accra with some of our bilateral creditors to seek the needed finance and assurance which will help the country present the bailout program before the IMF Executive Board for consideration. So essentially, while the meeting, which is an annual event looking at global issues, will be ongoing, the team representing Ghana's government to be looking at ways to deepen plans and whatever they've been doing as far as engagement is concerned to secure the much needed bailout from the International Monetary Fund.
I see. Now, what is this supposed to bring to us? I'm sure many Ghanaians are thinking along those lines. What can you share?
Well, of course, if they are able to get the needed finance and assurance during this meeting, it means we are much closer to getting the much needed bailout from the International Monetary Fund. We'll be able to present the program to the board, and once it has been scheduled, it means we are just a step away from getting the approval, and that means the uncertainty that has led to the many economic issues we are having back home. Investors will begin to have some sort of confidence again in the economy, and that will kind of stop the mass exodus that we've seen last year, which led to the pressure on the cedi. Already we are seeing the cedi enjoying some relative stability, and if this is secured, it means there will be less pressure on the cedi. There will be enough forex supply once the disbursement starts, and that means the issues or the impact we've seen from the cedi depreciation would kind of slow down, and that certainly will provide some sort of relief to the ordinary Ghanaian.
And does it look positive? Because the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta had mentioned to us that if we do not get an IMF deal by the end of March, the economy will crash. Well, we do not want the economy to crash, obviously. Today is the 11th of April, one month or half of it after that deadline. What does Ken Ofori-Atta's demeanor look like? Do you know?
3FM Sunrise.
Well, Johnny, that statement we have been saying from the onset that it was a political statement. It was an emotional blackmail to get the creditors, I'm referring to the local bondholders, to rally behind the government and accept the losses that the government was offering as far as the debt exchange is concerned, for them to reduce the debt servicing cost and the debt burden, which was part of the prior actions to get the approval of the IMF for the much needed bailout. But what we know is that the minister may be pushing hard to use his networking and staff to get the needed finance and assurance. But what we know that it will be very unlikely for them to secure that in the next 5 days while we are in Washington. They may make some advances and also further what they have already started in Accra, but it does not look likely that in the next 5 days all these kind of issues will be resolved. Remember, the external debt restructuring has not been completed. We've been told of a first meeting that was held by the Paris Club, which China also joined. As we are speaking now, China has yet to offer the financing assurance that Ghana needs to also put the program forward. We know China is also asking the IMF and the World Bank to be part of the debt restructuring and also incur some losses like all creditors will incur if they are to give the needed financing assurance to support Ghana's program. So it does appear to me the minister will be making a lot of moves to try and accelerate the process, but it doesn't look likely that in the next 5 days all these issues will be resolved for Ghana to put the program forward. And the indication we are getting is the program will be unlikely to be secured in April again. We are looking at somewhere early mid-May or even early June. We heard from Brian Achampon that you guys were just discussing, saying the IMF deal will be secured by June, July during the party events sometime last weekend. So the party itself or the government itself is aware the month of April again is also unlikely for them to finalize this whole process and get the program. And that for me also as somebody who has been monitoring the conversation and stuff and looking at what has been happening and the fact that the external creditors are still dragging their feet to get some issues resolved before they offer the finance and assurance, it does not appear that Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta can pull the needed strengths to get the program in this month. We should be looking at next month or somewhere even early June.
And many Ghanaians are also wondering when, for example, their bonds will be honored, and they're crying for their investments. Some need it for their medication and to finish up other businesses. Will the conclusion of this meeting, for example, bring a closure to those concerns and worries?
Well, that certainly is about issues of government raising enough revenue to solve some of these problems. Essentially, if the government is able to secure the bailout and disbursement, begin some of these issues, I'm sure will not be much of a hurdle. For me, I'm quite surprised because some of the outstanding bonds, as far as, for example, the pensioners are concerned, we saw some of them tendering their bonds to participate in the debt exchange despite the initial agitations and resistance. And the numbers left are not huge enough for the government to be having these kind of problems with the bondholders. We've heard from the pensioners issuing threats of picketing again at the finance ministry and stuff. I believe those things are not much of a major problem that the government should be allowing and creating unnecessary tension. But really, whatever happens here will have a direction as to how some of these issues would be resolved. The government has largely been relying on the money market to raise some money to address some of these issues. In the last few weeks, we've seen the auctions on the treasury bill market. The government target has been dropping significantly from the regions of 2 billion CD plus to somewhere 1 billion plus, although there is some sort of oversubscription on the market. But essentially, you've seen that investor appetite is a little down compared to what we've seen in some previous weeks. So essentially, what happens here will have an impact as far as the bonds are concerned, not just the local bonds, the external bonds, but as to whether it will offer the immediate relief if the pensioners are asking for in terms of payments. That's I don't see a clear picture to that.
And when will these meetings end, Sonny?
Sunrise.
The meetings will end on Friday. On Friday, we'll have the Africa Department of the IMF having a press session with us, and they will be telling us a lot as to how some of these issues, the debt issues that we are seeing in the region, some of the proposals they have as to how these can be resolved, and what's their view is regarding how some of these issues came up, and going forward how some of these issues would be minimized and the impact also kind of mitigated. And so essentially that will give us also an opportunity to ask a lot of questions that we've been asking in Accra that we've not been getting answers, and that will tell us how going forward some of these issues can be really tackled.
And so how many levels now do we have to go before we reach the main IMF deal that will bring in $3 billion?
The major hurdle that we have now has been with the external debt restructuring. The country is somehow caught in a geopolitical web, if I can put it that way, because you see, China is arguing that it holds less than 5% of Ghana's external debt, and that the country or the government should be engaging the Paris Club members and the rest of the commercial creditors to get the needed financing assurances, and China is ever ready to support Ghana's program. But we know the demands of China also to get the IMF and the World Bank included in the debt restructuring will not be entertained, and that may lead to some sort of further delay, as we saw in the case of Zambia when China made the same request, and the same wording they used when a Bloomberg reporter asked the China's foreign minister how they are dealing with Ghana's issue when Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta visited the country. So essentially, it does appear that we are much closer, but when you look at the issues, it also appears that we are far from getting the financing assurances which is required for us to get the approval of the IMF Executive Board. So the picture does not look quite clear for me, unless these geopolitical more or less concerns and games that they are playing with developing nations as far as debt treatment is concerned is addressed. We may not have the program as early enough as the government wants to help restore investor confidence and ultimately address the mounting economic issues and sufferings that we're seeing back home.
Sonny, I want to thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. Grateful that you could join us.
3FM
and you be safe out there. Ask all the tough questions, so we'll be waiting for the answers here.
Thank you.
Great. That's Sonny Abdulrahman. He's a man in Washington. A bit of throwback. Listen to this one.
But I can tell you, as my colleague, Deputy Minister said, we are not going to the IMF. Whatever we do, we are not. The consequences are there. We are a proud nation. We have the resources. We have the capacity. Don't let anybody tell you. Like when Joshua, Caleb, and the 10 others went to spy on the promised land. And only 2 of them came to say that we can do it. And the 10 went around the community murmuring, you can't, We are not people of short sight, you know. And we have to move on, okay? So let's think of us as who we are, a proud, strong people, the shining star of Africa, and we have the capacity to do what we want to do. If only we can speak that one language and ensure that we burden share in the issues ahead.
We are not going to the IMF, and yet we are the IMF now, bending and begging. Yeah, 26 minutes after 8 on 3FM 92.7. This is a Sunrise Morning Show. William, you heard Sunny. We are getting closer and closer to the IMF deal, even though we said we will not go to the IMF, but we're getting close. It looks positive.
Yeah, we've had instances where they've given us deadlines where we'll get this close. And so for me, until we get the money, I wouldn't be looking at closeness to anything. No, I mean, quite frankly, because that's what it is.
Be optimistic.
That's what I'm saying. How optimistic can I be? I just want us to get the money rather than giving timelines, because we are in this country and we've had timelines for things to happen and they happen. And I'm saying that for me, as I sit, the only announcement I want to hear is Ghana has gotten the deal, the money is coming, so that I can feel, the economy turn around. Yeah, because at the end of the day, we said we wouldn't go. Now we are going.
Right.
We are not there yet until the money is in our hands.
That's true.
Because the politicians, when you give them the opportunity, they will give assurance.
They will wrap you.
Yeah, because they are merchants of hope. And that's all they can do, assurances. So now we need the money to turn the economy around. And 3 billion for me is not that much because we owe so much. But when it comes, we just don't have to introduce new fancy projects. Just get down to what is already in existence and try and finish them so that we can have some ease.
Right. Helen will come in. Here's why we're back at the IMF. Finance Minister has been explaining. He spoke to Parliament a few months ago.
I did say that Ghana would not embark on an IMF program. We did not just say it, we also took measures towards the attainment of that objective, including the passage of the Fiscal Responsibility Act and instituting a number of irreversibility measures, and also launching the Ghana Cares Obatampa program for economic revitalization and transformation. Unfortunately, unprecedented global developments, Mr. Speaker, over the past 2 years, especially in these last 6 months, have really and truly disrupted our efforts. Governments across the world have had to change course to tackle the current crisis. Governments that less than a year ago were busily talking about energy transition and green and cleaner fuels have gone back to firing their coal plants. Governments that are known for low taxes are now raising taxes to tackle growing deficits. These are not ordinary times, not for Ghana, not for Africa, and certainly not for the whole world.
Helen,
I feel exactly the same as William. I have IMF fatigue at this point. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And all of this discourse, which sounds like a bit of a ping pong, between the IMF and our own creditors, it's exhausting. So the IMF is telling our external creditors to, have some mercy on us. And they're also saying, well, IMF, World Bank, you also have some power. Let's see you flex your muscles. And in all of this, we're caught in the middle. I was asking Sixtus and Komladum this morning during the news review, do they feel humiliated? Having, to always go cup in hand, being a citizen of this country and always feeling like, oh, Charlie, somebody's
you're a second-class citizen of the world, always begging for ours.
Always begging, and you have the likes of Kwame Pianim saying that we're being recolonized all over again with what we see. So it's unfortunate, the passion and zeal with which you heard the finance minister talk about us having the resources, being a proud nation, and not, going back to the IMF. It was a passionate speech. Of course, we haven't seen it materialize. That voice clip we listened to, it ends with that issue of burden sharing, which is what he said. And up until now, we still don't have, we still don't see officialdom, government really burden sharing with the people. I think we can still all agree that overwhelmingly, it's the Ghanaian citizen that is bearing the brunt of what is going on. And for how much longer we're getting how much longer can we stay carrying a bulk of this burden? And truly, really, I'm not seeing that same passion on government side. For the way that the finance minister spoke so emphatically, we should be seeing downsizing of an astronomical astronomical level to match with that kind of zeal that he approached us with. He says we have the resources, we don't need to. We've been told we have the men, we are this, we are that. Now push has come to shove and we are not seeing that same energy.
Charlie, we are not finding the men. Oh. The men are not manning.
Well,
can we use women?
The men are now being taxed. Oh, well, we have what's that bill that has been waiting for us?
Affirmative action.
It's
been waiting forever.
It's been waiting.
Three revenue bills have come and gone.
Oh.
We have had too many bills. The broadcasting bill is waiting. What's called affirmative action. I mean, so Parliament itself prioritizes what it thinks must be passed. The things that will ensure that John Mohammed's, we will give 30% of appointments to women. Akufo-Addo's will give 30% appointment to women is actualized. It's not there. If you go to Parliament now, you see the figures. Go into the public service, you see the figures. Go into appointments, you see the figures. And for me, the bigger conversation about how we even would use whatever it is that we're going to borrow. This is our 19th dance with the IMF. Have we been very judicious in the use of the resources? That's the question. We collect taxes, but tax mobilization is there. The tax application, zero.
Yeah.
And now our income tax will go up. Question on the minds of anybody who pays taxes in this country is, what now tax? We don't see what we do with the taxes. Now we're going to borrow. And the conversation is that it will be another one JND. We will share the money and nothing will happen. William will always say, don't do new projects. The old ones that are there, finish them. Comfort-Noche, we went to speak big English about Comfort-Noche. We said we're going to finish it. A champion started it, he couldn't do. We're going to do it. We said monies have been secured. Yes. Everything else. Comfort-Noche is still standing.
You know, and then
La General Hospital.
They tore the whole building down.
Can you imagine? So what do we exactly use the monies for? And when you speak, they say, oh, we have constructed more roads, we have done more this, we have done more this, and the people are still complaining.
When we had Mr. Richard Ahiagba here, what's his official role?
The Communications Director of the
MPP. You know, that conversation we had with him sparked so much reaction, and top of that reaction list was the posturing, the communication. So this morning, when William says that he suggests that they really take the comms very seriously, it's not a slight issue at all, because we say this every morning, people are angry because they are hungry.
Pent up anger.
Yeah, now more than ever, the communication has to be tailored in a way that it doesn't even incite more anger. But it looks like usukra na meyene more.
You see, Helen, sorry, the government, it's sad to say, the government has not admitted that we have been part of the problem that has been created.
And you saw how when he spoke to me, they say everything but we are part of it. They say, and in fact, I wrote some notes down. The first thing he said was that the president acknowledges where we are. As for that one, you don't have a choice but to if you want acknowledge, then you do what?
Who took us there? Yes, apologize for the mess.
And then he went on to talk about COVID-19 aftershocks, and then he also mentioned the Russia-Ukraine war as well. There was never any mention of their part in it. We talked about how every time monies have been disbursed for projects, even the minority has been aware, and that's what we brought in the cathedral. We said, well, that is one project we know that government dipped its hands into the consolidated funding and then went and did the project without Parliament's approval. So one, it is false, and that's also something we have to tackle. What happened to that website that
Delivery.gov,
yes.
and then there was the new one by ISD.
When we were asking about the COVID money, and I suggested to him, but I put it to him that there was misappropriation according to the Auditor General's report. He was asking whether I was a guest or a co-host because he thought I was here on some party mission. Because those are the questions we put to you.
But William,
you know, and
the
what
question
you told me off the mic was interesting. I mean,
but William, the question you asked was very clear. That look, William has been giving 50 cedis to buy 9 volts battery for studio microphone. William goes to the market, sees the 9 volt battery, and decides that no, we actually need hand sanitizers, not that. So he buys hand sanitizers and brings it to the office. He has not put the money in his pocket, but for the fact that the money was signed off for 9-volt battery and he chose to buy sanitizer, he has misapplied the money.
You go back to the authorizing.
You have to go and get permission for it. So if we get money for COVID, we borrow because COVID, Russia, Ukraine, whatever it is, and we decide to use the remainder of the money to support our budget. We have gotten money for COVID, but we have misapplied the money. And I don't know why the government keeps blaming COVID, Russia, Ukraine. Because COVID literally was a blessing to us.
We got plenty more.
The monies that came in because of COVID was a blessing to us. Why the MPP keeps blaming COVID, Russia, Ukraine? Russia is exporting, Ukraine is exporting. We who are far away from the action, we are crying more than the bereaved. What kind of country are we running?
And when Mr. Hagba was here with us last week, what he said is that all of this, it's true that the Russia-Ukraine war, COVID aftershocks, is really what is sending other countries to their knees. And in some respects, you can see how it is affecting the world, yes, by all means. But also, I would love to live in a country that has a plan for when external shocks come, because we don't know when the next outbreak is going to be, when the next war is going to be. We live in a turbulent planet. At any point in time, other countries can also rise up. How do we insulate ourselves
in fact,
from every shock?
In the sub-region, we're literally the only country that has some peace.
That's right.
Burkina has had its own troubles. Ivory Coast, same. Even in Togo, Nigeria,
yes,
all across. We are the only country that has. And another point, I find it very worrying when our state officials dismiss nearly everything that's told them. You talk about insurgency, they dismiss it. Look at Kamala Harris was here speaking about what do you call it, insurgency and all these terrorist groups, and the president just dismissed it, with English. We think that everything is a communication problem.
Yeah.
And by and large, we have come to realize that not every single problem is a communication issue. Some of them are thinking issues. Some of them are policy issues. Some of them are legislative issues. Some of them are common sense issues. And in most of the cases, we fail. We fail.
All of them are common sense issues.
Well, no, but in most of them, we fail.
Yeah, because, so Johnny, if you are talking about burden sharing, why should there be a burden in the first place? Because I don't see how you come into office and you want to finish everything within 4 years. And within 8 years, and
you simply cannot.
The president says he's in a rush.
No, you can't be in a rush.
You can't be in a rush. Is it your pocket money?
Exactly. So
it's not your pocket money. How do you be in a rush?
I want to finish everything that you've said you are going to do in 4 years, for which reason you create a burden. No, it doesn't happen like that, because governance is something that continues.
It's a continuum.
You do something, I come and I continue. But if you want to come and finish so that you go and cut sword for us to praise you, if you are working, people will see, because you'll be showing working, as we say in mathematics. So at the end of the day, if you come and you're also engaging in fancy projects, which was Otunfo said, we have to engage in projects that will give us returns. If you build roads, you told the roads, we get money.
Make some money off
build
it.
Airports, the flights come, you make your money. If you build hospitals, people go in there, they are healthy, we get productivity, we get money. These are things that you put money in, not in cathedrals and things that will not get us money in the short term. Because if you are a developing country,
but you see,
that's how you go.
But William, the president is still adamant. He wants to build the cathedral.
That's impossible.
He has not said. He said cathedral.
I'm willing to bet that he has changed his mind.
No, he has not changed his mind.
I'm willing to bet that he has changed his mind.
If you have monitored the president, there are people that have been, and then sometimes you have conversations on the back burner with people who are closer to power, and they tell you that, look, we told the president not to appoint this person because this person is a liability. This person cannot deliver. The president ignores them and appoints the people. How to take those people off is a problem. We look at our Greek minister. It was a problem. Everybody knew in this country. Look at our health minister. It's a problem. A Greek minister had to resign because he wants to be flag bearer of his party. When they asked him, why do you want to be president? He wants to lead the MPP. That's all. Because his father came to do some. Ray Akuto. And he wants to come and step in his father's shoes. That's all. So he doesn't have the people at the center of the conversation. He doesn't have it. He doesn't have it. Amadan police. What are you talking to me about? So now you finish that. The president, tell me who the president has been able to sack.
He says they are all doing a great job.
They are doing which job? For who?
I think
for who?
I think the president.
The children are going back to school today.
Today.
They vacated for 1 week. They are going back today. They still don't have textbooks. They still don't have adequate food. They still don't have proper bunk beds. They still have dormitories that are choked. What are you talking to me about?
And parents are still paying big money.
I'm saying that we were 22 in a house from one.
22.
22.
Are you?
From one.
Are you?
22. My daughter, they are 67.
Are you kidding me? At Chimota school.
And because of that, they have to
67
be going in and out of
67 in one class.
The first year's
How?
2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks. They've come home for the second years to go and join the third years to prepare for exam. I mean, how did they even create that bonding? So that when you grow together and have friends that you can build.
Because when you go to school, William, when you go to school, William knows his year mates.
Yes.
You know your year mates. I know my Phil, everybody. So you say, oh, this one I went to school with him. Oh, this one when we were in school, he was a foodie. This one he was an athlete. He was this, he was that. Now you have disintegrated all of that.
The whole thing is
in fact, I think I shared a dormitory with maybe 50 plus girls.
Yeah, I mean,
it's hard to keep track in the classroom as well. 50 plus. of us.
but I mean the dormitory you have the number, but I'm saying my year group,
The classroom.
the number of people who were in one house, but like
22.
from one students in one house. But of course we have, because it's a 7-year program, you have our 40 or so in the dormitory.
Sure.
But for the houses, 300 of us who went, 22 of us were in one house. Form ones, but now you have about 67 form ones in one house.
So there's overcrowding, first of all.
That's why they are going in and out
the food
after a short while.
Charlie.
They are having rice elective, core rice, and they blame the food.
Elective rice.
Elective rice, and sometimes they just mash the protein, and you see it in.
So the core rice is just plain rice
with some small
fatou.
Charlie.
Then they put it on it, gas. Then elective rice, that's where you see the chicken, but the chicken will not see you. Charlie. Hey, what kind of country is this? 8:43.
This is the BKK government. After 8 years, they have had more resources than all governments from Nkrumah to Kufuor put together. They have used of 248 billion Ghana cedis. And after 248 billion Ghana cedis, they cannot pay for national health insurance. They cannot pay for the national youth employment. They cannot pay for the school feeding program. They cannot pay for the free maternal care program. They cannot pay teacher training allowances. They cannot pay nursing training allowances. The mass cocoa spraying program has collapsed. And today, electricity is costing more than rent. This is the government of President John Dramani Mahama. That is the record. And this is why we say, if the MPP could build this economy with 20 billion Ghana cedis, and you come and collapse it with 248 billion Ghana cedis, it shows without question that you are an incompetent government. Without question, you are an incompetent government.
This was 6 years ago. Dr. Baumia, fresh from the Bank of Ghana, speaking economics. Today, we are looking for him to even explain to us what is going on. He's doing Mumui economics. See you after the break.
So the essence of my praise is centered on your grace. I pray. I know this guy habits and BGM artists of the European one and Brandon Bazana of Hawaii.
You are a major stakeholder in nation building. Your voice matters. Start your day with us.
To give back to our communities. A week is a brand that makes a difference. That's the world around us. That is why every bottle from my heart
To simplify the conversation, break down the jargons and technicalities.
Yes.
To keep you well informed throughout the week. Start your day with us. Knowledge is power. We put you in the know of the happenings in Ghana and the world over. The main reason why you need to start your day with us.
We give the leaders the mandate to govern our affairs. We have a responsibility to hold them to account. It begins here. Start your day with us. Good morning, Ghana, Africa, and the rest of the wonderful world. Welcome to Sunrise on 3FM 92.7.
Start your day well informed. Start with us on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Catch the all-new Sunrise Morning Show with me, Johnnie Hughes, Helena Piampofo, William Asiedu,
and Noble Crosbyan.
Weekdays from 5:55 a.m. to 10 a.m. only on 3FM 92.7. Your urban lifestyle radio.
00C90-1059-6920-ACC. Take note, we do not give loans via the internet. Beware of scammers. We are regulated and licensed by Bank of Ghana.
You are a major stakeholder in nation building. Your voice matters. Start your day with us.
Fortune rice. It needs just a little water. The greenstone stick and the aroma and taste are delicious. Fortune rice, always on point, just like mom.
Now introducing Fortune Emupa, your tasty Ghana rice for all your rice meals.
This advert is FDA approved.
Just like mom.
Breakfast Show 92.7 3FM.
Go talk to, we got another one. Yeah.
3FM Sunrise. 3FM. Start your day with Sunrise on 92.7 3FM.
Make this love never fail me. Make we day, make it day. And I hope that you feel the same. All these things when you got try me, I'm ready to mind.
In nation building. Your voice matters. Start your day with us.
We simplify the conversations, we break down the jargons and technicalities. We keep you well informed throughout the week. Start your day with us.
Knowledge is power. We put you in the know of the happenings in Ghana and the world over. The main reason why you need to start your day with us.
We give the leaders the mandate to govern our affairs. We have a responsibility to hold them to account. It begins here. Start your day with us. Good morning, Ghana, Africa, and the rest of the wonderful world. Welcome to Sunrise on
Brian Achampon, Minister for Agric, is in the news for making some comments after a walk by the New Patriotic Party. We're being joined on the phone line now by a brand new professor at the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Kobe Mensah. Pump up. Good morning.
Pump up. Good morning,
congratulations to you, Prof.
Hey, Charlie, thanks so much for that.
It tastes so nice to call you Prof.
It is because some of you have made it possible. Obviously, the kind of collaboration between the media and ourselves as academics actually contribute to our work. Obviously, the university sees the work as worthy, amongst other works, to be ranked as an associate professor. So I'm grateful to you, your network, obviously having that collaboration, and of course, thankful to so many other people who have been involved in this journey. And so I use the opportunity, including my students, obviously, they've been fantastic. The engagement that I have with them, it's been amazing. So I'm grateful to everybody who has contributed in one way or the other in this particular journey. And especially to you guys, and then Johnnie in particular.
Thank you, sir.
All the conversations we get. I mean, it's been amazing, to this to this time. Yeah,
we're happy for you. Brian Achampon is in the news. There are varied comments about what he said, that in every way possible, the NPP government will not hand over power to an NDC government, and they will do everything. First of all, your initial comments about the statements, I'm sure you heard them. What do you say?
Yeah, I think that I was a little bit amazed the comments, especially coming from Brian, a young person who had done a lot and obviously continued to do a lot. I'm sure that he's in many ways a role model, a business guy. He's done well in politics, obviously successful as an MP by winning. And then, of course, having been, elevated through the ministries and now the Ministry of Equity. I mean, this is a fantastic role model that young people can look up to. And so whatever he says, I think it must be considered, the impact. And I have always said that when you look at political communication, the people involved when you speak in political communication are completely different from the people involved when you speak in corporate settings. Because in political communication, once you speak, you're speaking to so many other stakeholders. You're speaking to opposition party, your own party, you're speaking to security agencies, you're speaking to electoral commission, you're speaking to civil society. So everybody listens to you immediately you speak from political communication perspective, whether you're speaking to your party people or not. Over the period, the posture of our political parties and our politicians has been that when they speak, it's as if they're speaking to the other party. They mirror each other. And they think that they are directing the communication to the opposition. But largely, you are not directing only to the opposition, but to the entire country and the stakeholders within the political system. And so they have to have that understanding that even if you are trying to arouse your followers or you are trying to sort of energize them, which most of the time when you speak on campaign platform is what they intend to do, you couldn't just say anything because it has a lot more implications for so many other people, including people who are trying to actually accommodate themselves within the political system. Some people don't vote because they see the political system as too chaotic. Now, once those comments come out, it affirms their beliefs and they shy away from the system. And so you use that as a voting suppression strategies, etc. So you have to be mindful what you say when it comes to political communication. It's not as easy as we think it is. It has a lot of ramifications.
His political party, the NPP, has come to support him. They say the NDC's reaction to what Brian Achampon said lacks contextual content. What do you say to that as well?
I think that's propaganda. I mean, I've heard them make references to what former President Mahama had said, and actually seems to rationalize what Brian Achampon is saying as a response to that. But that's a huge propaganda, because if what President Mahama has said in the past is what they were referring to or they were reacting to, they could have actually reacted at the time when he said that. And I'm sure they reacted at the time when he said that. I remember a lot of people, including most of us, having issues with the boot for boot, comment, etc. And you had prominent people come out to, call, the former president out and to say that was not a good, language to use. And so certainly it cannot be a response to that because we have dealt with that already. Now, currently, what they are trying to do is to rationalize, but that is not the appropriate thing. I mean, I would expect the leadership to find a way to actually, quench the fire, to tone down, to let people know that indeed maybe he might have spoken as a result of trying to, sort of energize the base. But for you to come out and rationalize, I think it's quite unfortunate, especially from a party that speaks from a due process, perspective that talks about democratic credentials, etc. You do not expect them to actually assent to those records. I'm sure Brian himself, when he does a certain introspection, would realize that it is not a statement that is befitting of him in terms of his caliber. Don't forget, he's a well-standing person in terms of, as I said, young person who's actually doing so well. And so I think that on reflection, they should have actually taken back and they should have actually, find a way of, quenching the tension. But rather coming out to support and to actually justify why he said that, I think is very, very unfortunate from the NPP perspective.
Do you support the calls for Mr. Brian Acheampong to be invited by the police to explain his comments?
I would think so. The reason being that in the past we have taken action against, the NDC, activists who had actually gone on to say similar, things. It might not be the same, but they had taken steps. Why did the security agencies found it necessary to take steps? It's because you would want to, calm the society down. You want to take action so that the society would indeed know that, if or should any chaotic incidences start happening, during the elections, you are there to actually restore order. You are there to make sure that people do not, get the process into a chaotic thing. So you take action just for, not just, but you take action to make sure that you can restore the confidence of the society into the processes, the electoral processes, and in the security agencies. So I think that for the purposes of calming down tensions and making sure that the society feels safe, at peace and then feels safe, during the elections, and making sure that they would go to the booths at the polling stations to vote. You want to take some actions like that, to make sure that, some of these things can be restored. So I think that it will be in the interest, to perhaps invite him. Of course, I am very confident that it was just to energize his base, but it has to be, investigated properly so that we can all be, on the same page, not expecting a certain chaotic 2024 election. So I think that it will be in order, but I don't expect them to do, because I don't think that this administration in particular had found fault, and had actually, sort of allowed the security agencies to take actions against their own people. So in my expectation, that's not going to happen, but it would be the good thing, for them to do.
Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo is a great stalwart of the New Patriotic Party. He had a press release, and paragraph 3 reads that the statement made recently by Mr. Brian Acheampong during the MPP's unity walk at Kwahu on the 8th of April 2023 is not only irresponsible but also violent and destructive. A statement that is senseless and uncalled for Mr. Brian Acheampong, a cabinet minister of the Republic of Ghana, to have said that the MPP will not hand over power to the NDC even if the opposition wins, and that whichever way we will employ to ensure MPP stays in power beyond 2024, we will employ, is not only directed at the NDC, but it is a dangerous threat to our democracy and the 1992 Constitution. He said he's writing as an elderly statesman or an elderly citizen. This is what he has said. Do you think that the government of the day, the president, will reprimand Brian Acheampong like Nyaho Tamaklo has done?
It's a statement that I largely align myself with, especially the idea that it is very inimical to the democratic dispensation. I do not think the president would do. Obviously, as I said, the president hadn't taken action against quite a number of things that his appointees have been found to or alleged to have done. And so I do not expect the president to do it. But I largely agree with, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo for saying that, because you see, the young people are listening. I mean, I just had the simulation of the political, campaign, on campus, GIJ campus. And you saw what the students have done or were doing. Now, the point is that we're in the society, and so whatever happens, these young people are listening, they are following, and they would want to enact it at some point. Now, if there is no consequences for such comments, people find it appropriate. They find that it's okay for you to just brazenly say some of these things as a way of energizing your base, but they don't see the consequences or the implications of that. Of course, what Brian said is an indirect, kind of command, because tomorrow when the elections are organized, you probably may not be in one constituency, But someone had heard it to say that we are not going to hand over power. So a certain MP is winning, a certain party is winning, and you have somebody acting on that command that you gave. You would not be there to say that I just said it, for campaign sake. You will not be there to do that. You cannot control what people do, but they would use your statement, as energy to do whatever they want to do, and you could be held responsible for that. So I think that is very dangerous. We shouldn't entertain it. But I do not expect the president to actually, call him in because he hadn't actually done that in the past.
Did Brian Achampong sink so low?
Say it again, please.
Did Brian Achampong sink so low?
I think that it's something that is not befitting of him. And I'm sure when he reflects on it, he will be remorseful. Whether he will come out in public to actually say that is a different issue. But knowing the kind of person, he's very exposed. He's very, articulate. I mean, he has a certain intellectual capabilities. Obviously, he recently completed a PhD, so he's not just any other ordinary person. He's someone of a higher caliber in terms of intellectuality. So I'm sure when he does reflections on that, he would think that he didn't actually come out clear. I mean, he didn't actually come out well in this instance.
Would you say he was carried away by the enthusiasm of the crowd? His emotions had a better part of him?
Johnny, that's not only him. I mean, most political actors get carried away. They say things that they haven't even thought about. They even propound policy. I mean, I have had conversations. I remember with, Jacob Tebilamte, for example, and may so rest in peace, who we normally share strategy conversation. And he tells me, kind of things that you could actually come to you. It can actually come to you when you're on the campaign platform. So I'm very much aware of what campaign platforms, rallies actually do to politicians. Get them into that momentum. They see the crowd and they want to say anything. But that's where the maturity should come in. You will have to restrain yourself by your status, by awareness of the political climate, by so many other things, in order for you not to say anything and do anything. So I think that he erred on that ground, perhaps by the momentum of the occasion. And he should actually come out to state that, so that they can actually quell the tension in the system.
Prof, William has a question for you. William?
Prof, good morning and congratulations on your new title, Professor.
Thank you. I'm good.
I just wanted to find out where you sit. I mean, and your department. Have you had any of these political parties approaching you for any training in terms of political communication, if you like, or public speaking?
Yes, I mean, a number of times I have trained, political parties, the youth wing especially, on political communication.
You have 1 minute remaining.
It hasn't been an ongoing, it's sometimes once a while, a certain constituency invites you, but it hasn't been a strategic approach.
I see. Prof, well, thank you very much for your time this morning. Grateful that you could join us. And thank you. Congrats one more time.
Thank you, Johnny. I'm grateful.
Absolutely.
And thanks for the conversations and the collaboration.
Great. That's Professor Kobe Mensah of the University of Ghana Business School. Yeah. Big man in the Ghana. As Bukombanku would say, big man in the Ghana.
The party in the Yabain to rent them Kakaba 2 year or Kwaimu.